Thank you all for being here tonight at TEDxIrvine. What a great venue this is. What an amazing place. You guys know that there's tigers outside, right? There's actually a cage. I saw them when I came in. I wanted to talk tonight. When I originally got invited, I wasn't sure what I would speak about. I knew I didn't want to talk about my profession or what I do for a career because frankly I'm not that interesting. Certainly not as interesting as some people that we've heard from tonight. So I sent an email out to a handful of friends and I asked, what should I talk about at TEDx? Now I got some humorous responses, of course. And in particular I got from a friend of mine named Joven. He put just one word at the top of the email. It said transition. And I thought, okay, I don't know what that means. And you have to know that Joven is a little bit of a prankster, so I usually don't take many of his emails very seriously. But he put it this word at the top, transition. And so at first, I wasn't sure what exactly that meant. But as I began to reflect on that word, I realized that my life is in an amazing transition right now. Where I'm at in my life is an amazing transition right now. And I wanted to share with you some parts of my story tonight of where I'm at in this time of transition. It was about 4 years ago, I was in Las Vegas for a business outing, and we had a coach that we had all hired, and so she invited us to come to Las Vegas and talk about our business. And it was kind of a retreat. There were friends in the room, there were colleagues, there was about 15 of us there. And our common tie was this particular coach. At one time or another in our careers, she had coached us in business. We were all creative professionals. And so we spent some time with her over the years. Now I have to give you some background. I was the A student. I had spent the previous year developing my business plan. And so here I was coming to an event where we were going to talk about where we were headed, and I knew where I was headed because I had my business plan. And so there were expectations put on me that were a little bit unfair, to be honest. And so we kind of went through the day and we talked about life and we talked about business and we talked about the things that we were doing. And near the end of the time, our coach asked, what is your juicy goal? What is that big thing that you want to accomplish in your life and in your career? Something so big, something so juicy. Now, I've come to define juicy goals as something so big that when you tell people, they might laugh. I've always said that if they don't laugh, it might not be juicy enough. And so what is that big, juicy goal? And so one by one, my colleagues began to share amazing things that they wanted to accomplish. One by one, they began to share things in their life and their career that they wanted to accomplish. Amazing things, things that inspired me, things that got me really excited, things that I loved them for. I remember a photographer in particular had talked about wanting to get to a place where he could shoot a portrait that would be featured on some national publication or international publication cover. But as they shared these amazing things, I came to realize that I didn't care about any of it for me. In fact, I began to realize that I didn't even care about the things that were written in my business plan. And I became kind of overwhelmed with this idea that the things that I thought were going to be successful for me, the things that I would hope to have accomplished, were really things just on paper that I didn't really want. It was what I was supposed to write on paper as a business person, but it's not really what I want. And I remember leaving Las Vegas confused. Now, let's be honest, I'm probably not the only person that has left Las Vegas confused. But I remember leaving confused. And I didn't know what to think about all of this. I didn't know what to think about all this time that I prepared this business plan, and now I don't care about any of it. It was about a year later that my wife and I had our second child. And 3 of my clients in a matter of 2 weeks left, which amounted to about 85% of my revenue as a company. And so here I was, a father of 2, and I had a pretty serious business hurdle ahead of me. But it was the first time in my career that I decided to do something that I had never done before. I decided to take pause. I knew that what I was doing was not working. And so I resisted the temptation to go out and get busy again. I resisted the temptation to take my portfolio and the work that I had and the contacts I had and get busy again. I decided to take pause and really learn more about who I was and what I had to offer the world. I remember reading lots of books during that time and spending time with mentors. I learned about my strengths and how I might be able to leverage them. And it was also during this time that I realized I needed to get healthy. I was working non-stop towards things that I didn't care about. It simply was not sustainable long term. And you see, at one point, I was pushing 340 pounds. It hit me that if I continue down this path, I may not see my kids grow up. I may not get to spend time with my grandkids or grow old with my loving wife. And so this is truly when the transition in my life began. I started making lifestyle changes that would be sustainable long term. I began to eat better. I began to exercise. It was a couple years later that I would discover cycling, which is a huge passion that I have now. I ride hundreds of miles a month, and I've got the epic tan lines to prove it. If I had short sleeves on, I would show you. And I began to work differently. I began to leverage my strengths whenever I could. And I began helping people however I could. And then a little over a year ago, I heard about my friend Mark, who was starting a nonprofit. He was starting a nonprofit to make a product called RUTF, which stands for Ready to Use Therapeutic Food. It's basically peanut butter, milk, and micronutrients in a packet. And it's used to treat young children who are suffering from severe acute malnutrition. These are kids that in some cases are days away from dying. They are literally starving to death. And this stuff is amazing. The results are incredible. And we've seen amazing things happen with this product. And I remember a friend of mine, Troy, had asked me if I would be interested in getting involved. He said, if this thing gets ripping, would you be interested in kind of leaving your job and being involved? And I wasn't really interested at first because I didn't have the time and I was really focusing on building and rebuilding this business. And besides, it was a startup. And a nonprofit startup at that. I think all startups are pretty much nonprofit, but this was a true nonprofit startup. But I began to see the momentum building. And they had raised some money. They started building this factory. It's been amazing to watch this thing all come together and see the people that have gotten involved. We even had some meetings to talk about what it might look like if I got involved. But even still, I wasn't interested yet. It was then on a Tuesday night that I was sitting at home with my family, and we had some sample packets of this product, and my older son asked if he could taste it. And as I saw him eating this product and tasting it, my heart began to beat. I began to get that tug at my heart. You see, in this country, if something were to happen to me, something were to happen to my entire family, someone would take care of my child. He may feel hungry, but he would certainly not starve to death. And yet there are places in the world where unless help comes, children die every single day. And so I did what any good business person would do. I took out the piece of paper and I folded it in half, and I wrote pros on one side and I wrote cons on the other, right? I was going to plan my way out of this. And on the pros side, I wrote things like change the world, save maybe some million kids, help lots of people, get to work on a fun brand, get to work with people that I love working with. And the list went on and on and on. And on the con side, I couldn't come up with anything except for one thing, and that was that I couldn't focus on growing my business during that time. And to be honest, I just don't think that is a good enough reason to not get involved. And so I started to make that transition, even though I don't know what it looks like yet. I don't know what that situation will look like or how I will end up working with them and in what capacity. But I know that this is what I'm supposed to do with my life right now. So I wanted to leave you with 4 things tonight that I'm learning during my time of transition. And the first is be willing to take pause. Be willing to slow down long enough to learn who you are and what you want out of life. To learn about your strengths and what you have to offer this world. What you're passionate about and what you're willing to give your life to. We must be willing to take pause. And the second revolves around our theme tonight of TEDx, which is to be a change agent. I believe to be a change agent, we must be willing to change ourselves first. We must be willing to see the things in our life that need to change. And humbly admit that maybe we don't have it all figured out. Maybe there are things that we could improve on. Maybe there are things that need to be changed. And even though those things are hard, we must be willing to change ourselves. And the third thing is to be in the business of helping other people. Be in the business of helping others. As I begin to focus more and more on helping other people over the past 4 years, I feel as though the whole world is opening up to me. And I'm getting to meet people and experience things that I've never imagined for myself because I was willing to help someone else. Even speaking here tonight as a result of this, I'm mentoring a young kid named Justin who's here tonight. And it was by his recommendation that I got asked to come speak here tonight at TEDx. So be in the business of helping other people. I remember a great quote that I heard when I was in high school. I had the privilege of hearing a great motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar, speak while I was in high school. And he said, you can have everything you want in life if you're just willing to help enough people get what they want. You can have everything you want in life if you're just willing to help enough people get what they want. I can have everything I want in life if I'm just willing to help Justin with his business or help a mom save her dying child. And so as for me, that fourth thing, don't miss your chance for your transition towards things that matter most to you. I think we have a fear of change. We have a fear of transition. And this fear keeps us from pursuing amazing things in our life. It keeps us from pursuing our dreams and passions that we have. But I can tell you there is something that I fear so much more than that. I fear that we will come to the end of our lives having only pursued success and we completely miss an opportunity to be significant. Completely miss an opportunity to put our positive thumbprint on this world. So as for me, I will continue through my time of transition, even though it's hard sometimes. I will move forward, even though I can't quite see what's around that next corner. I will continue to fight for balance in my life, and I'll continue to ride my bike and work on those tan lines. I may never make millions of dollars, or I may never build some big company. My family may never enjoy that big house on the hill, but my 2 little boys, Andrew and Aiden, will tell stories someday about how Daddy changed the world. If I was sitting around that conference room today in Las Vegas, I would simply introduce myself, that my name is Luke Mysse. I'm an activator, strategic thinker. Some say that I talk too much. I plan to spend my life helping people. And my juicy goal is to change the world. Thank you.